Good morning, guys. It is a beautiful Saturday morning after we had our first, I wouldn't say rain of the year, but it was like a steady drizzle for a few hours. I don't think we even got an inch of rain. Highly doubt we even got half an inch. But I came out here last night after work. I got home at like 7-ish and I saw something terrible. So I hurriedly rushed out here this morning when I woke up. I'm still in my pajamas, guys. But bad news, and I'm still not sure what the problem is. Every single part of this single maxima squash is wilted. This is the Mayo blusher that's planted in the middle of the row, and the maxima is planted right here. If we get down to the base of the plant, there's not much to see, and I am currently watering because of course I just watered this in the hopes that it would perk up, but I don't think water is an issue, obviously, because none of the other plants are wilting. So my first thought when I saw this last night and this morning, because of the nature of the damage, it is just one plant in an entire row of squash that suddenly wilted. No apparent cause. It's not a watering issue. It's not a nutrient issue. And it couldn't have been like a heat issue because first off, none of the other plants wilted. And secondly, it was overcast all day yesterday and raining. So because the entirety of the plant is wilted, it's not just one single vine, one single stem, my first thought is a squash vine borer, because that pest can get right at the base of the entire plant, bore its way through, cutting off nutrients and water supply to the entirety of the plant. I have never had squash vine borers in my garden before. And I still haven't confirmed the presence. I looked around at the base of the stem, but because I watered, I couldn't see if there was any borer frass, but they make little like sawdust. It looks like sawdust on the ground outside of your squash plant, and that's where they bore into the stem. Because I watered, I couldn't see if it was there because I watered, and I didn't want to dig too much around the base of that hole because I don't want to dig up the roots that are still intact if it's not a squash vine borer. And that place is just covered in vines. That plant is so huge, there's vines coming off everywhere, there's Bermuda grass right under it, and it's a mess. It's hard to get in there without breaking a bunch of stems. But I am pretty sure it has to be a vine borer issue. I just can't confirm it. And I've never had that problem before. So I guess I have to amend my last question and answer video when I said those were my only pests, because apparently this will be the first year that I could possibly have a squash vine borer issue that just took out my favorite squash plant. Possibly my favorite plant, period, in this entire garden. Of course it would be that one. So I'm gonna wait until the sun is out and the gnats are a little bit less. I don't want to spray myself with bug spray right now because I'm about to go to the gym, and I just don't want to be covered in bug spray at the gym, seeping into my pores. Ew. But once it's about midday, the gnats will be gone. My little honeybees will be gone because they're all over those flowers right now and I don't want to bother them. And I will probably try and clear out as much of the base of that plant as possible and see if I can see any signs of a vine borer. If I find some, I'll grab the camera and take a video of it. But I'm pretty sure that squash plant is gone. If not today, then soon it will slowly die. I just really, really hope those squashes had enough time to mature. They definitely did not have enough time to mature to store, which is the original goal. But if they matured enough to get seeds from them, that would be amazing. So I could save the seeds from this huge plant that really thrived in my garden. But while I'm out here in the garden with the camera, I figured On the subject of plants that are dying, I would take you around my garden and show you what's just not doing that well. We actually had a huge haboob, which is just a giant dust storm, come through. The day the dust storm came through, most of this corn was blown over sideways. So I came through here with just this. I tied a bunch of these corn stalks to this metal grate, which kind of held them up, but they're still more or less leaning towards the side, with some of them just falling over completely, as you can see by this guy. This bed doesn't bum me out as much because these plants weren't doing too well anyways. But I was really hoping to get something off these guys. They're still alive, they're still fine. I'm not putting them in the dead pile yet or anything, but if we get any more winds and these guys get taller, because they're already so weak at the base from this first storm, I'm just not sure they're gonna make it. We can't have another dust storm like what came through the other day. That can't happen again. Moving on to my potted tomatoes, which are more or less just holding this soil at this point. All of these pots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and can't forget this sad guy. These were all tomatoes, and I just had extra plants, so I threw them in some pots, but the pots were all filled with the Kellogg's potting soil. And although I did do some supplemental fertilization, these guys are not looking good. I'm pretty sure he's not gonna make it. I'm still watering him just for kicks. And there are some producers in here, especially this guy. He's probably doing the best out of all of them. You can see where when I first planted him, he just withered, but then started growing new shoots down here at the base of the plant. And these shoots are green and vibrant. And we've even got some cherry tomatoes here. This one as well started putting out new shoots at the base. So I'm hopeful that this guy will make a comeback. It's about ready. Cute little saladette sized tomato. All of my calendula is starting to peter out. I've been harvesting every single day since really the beginning of spring. And these leaves are looking extremely chlorotic, just generally dying back at the base. And all of my plants look like this. All of my calendula plants look like this. This is probably one of the worst ones here in this bean bed. And I'm fine with it. Calendula is a really good herb to grow here. It does like the sun and it tolerates heat pretty well. But usually in the middle of the summer when we're getting above 100-degree days consistently, it doesn't like that at all. So I've started letting some of the flowers go to seed just in preparation. I'll probably tear these plants out after a few of the flowers have gone to seed. It's pretty good about reseeding itself, but I don't mind. I will just start more for the fall garden because calendula is frost hardy and it will perform for me starting in the fall, basically all the way up to November, December. This guy looks decent still. He might stick around for a little while longer. But this one, this has been hanging on for dear life for a while now. I'm trying to make myself as small as possible to hide from the gnats. But I fertilized the calendula a couple times with like some bloom fertilizer just to prolong the harvest. And honestly, I have enough dried calendula stored away just from these past couple months to last me the entire year. I just like growing it though. I will still grow more because it's beautiful and it smells great. And why not grow more if I can? Ugh. If you guys watched my last video, you know that I took out a couple tomato plants. There were 3 over here that were pretty diseased. It was not something I recognized, but it did appear that it was spreading from plant to plant through contact. So that's why I ended up actually taking the tomato plants out. If it's a non-communicable disease that I can identify and it's not, you know, just killing the plant immediately, I'll usually let it live and continue to get however many tomatoes I can get off of it. But these guys weren't producing anything, and I think they were spreading it to other plants. So I just took them out and replanted with some going to seed varieties that are supposed to be promiscuously pollinating. And we'll see if those make it to maturity before the frost. I think they will, if they can survive the heat of the summer in the seedling stage. And we're finally starting to get some blushing on these Martino's Roma tomatoes. I'm pretty excited for these. Still surprised at their size. I thought they'd be bigger. And they might be bigger. I'm not sure what their exact size is. They just may be small because they're struggling in my climate. But at least they're producing. There's a ton of tomatoes on that thing. I'm looking around trying to find what else is going kaput. And I have got a lot of my, look at this. This is all like aphid dust. Gross. I've been trying to spray the aphids off these guys, but they are loving the sunflowers and just tearing these poor things to bits. I came over here and did a good washing of all these leaves the other day. Look at those guys. That's nasty. So currently the only summer squash I'm harvesting is off this single plant, which is a going to seed variety. But I do have this squash, which I don't know what variety this is. It might be a going to seed variety because I know I do not have any zucchini seeds. And this is an odd looking zucchini anyways. So it's probably some sort of landrace or hybrid variety. Don't know what this guy is. It's growing pretty slow. Here in the last row, I've got some, that's a sunflower. This is a squash that isn't doing so hot. Borage. Another squash that isn't doing so hot. More squashes. These are tromboncinos that will probably likely never produce me anything. Slowly dying from the base, and they have been for a while. Look at my sad dying squash plant. I get upset about this. It's a weird one too. It's totally not ready. You know what would be the cherry on top? Is if I went to harvest all of these squashes and then ate them and found out they tasted terrible. In other news, this corn and squash, oh, I think I did watermelons, mostly melons in here, is making a comeback. It's looking okay. I don't actually have any fruit production, but I have blooms. And it appears that these melons are doing better than the corn, but they were planted in here first. It just took a long time to get off the ground because of how crappy the soil is that I put in here. And then this one random corn that's doing really well. It's so funny seeing like one random plant in the entire bed that apparently had amazing soil directly underneath it while everyone else was struggling for their lives. Like these poor sunflowers. At least they gave me a head. Gorgeous. Look at these leaves. Whew. Just terrible health. Terrible, terrible soil health. I've got a few baby corns. This isn't very big, but I think I've got maybe 4 or 5 tiny ears of corn in this bed, which was definitely way more than I was prepared to get. Well guys, that's about it. Just wanted to pop out here and give you an update on the squash after last night. Then I figured I'd go around and show you all the failures. Because you can't just show all the good stuff. Things are constantly dying in my garden. That's why I'm constantly planting more stuff. And I don't always know what kills everything. You can make some educated guesses. But I'm not a botanist, and I don't have a chemistry lab, and I can't diagnose everything and why it goes wrong, which is fine. It's less stress. I just accept that things die, replant the space, and move on with my life. In the case of a lot of things giving out in the heat, like all of these calendula plants, those are pretty large flower bushes because they've been growing for a long time. So pulling them out in the middle of the summer gives me more space to plant something else, something quick like beans, or extra pepper plants that I still have because I still have tomatoes and peppers that I could put in the ground. So it's not all bad. I'm glad that I get to pull these plants out. I've harvested tons. I think I have probably a gallon-sized mason jar full of dried calendula flowers. That's a lot. I'm set for the year. I am happy to pull these plants out, amend the soil, replant them with something so I can get more food. It's awesome. Just this endless cycle of plant succession to always keep growing more. All right, I am officially eaten alive. Thank you guys for coming on this quick little garden walk with me. I'm gonna get to the gym. Have a good day, and I will catch you on the next one.